Yeah, right. Beautiful. Matt in Nebraska, listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. You are next. Your question for Jimmy Aiken, please, Matt.
Hi, thanks. My question is regarding the change in the catechism on the death penalty. If I understand correctly, it mostly is about kind of a paradigm shift between the old way of looking at criminal penalties, which was inflicting a just punishment on the offender, versus the new way of looking at them, which is protecting society from the offender. So my question was
and hopefully rehabilitating the criminal.
Right. So my question was, I guess, how do we know that the new paradigm is right and the old paradigm is wrong, and when did that shift occur?
Well, the shift occurred principally over the course of the 20th century, and in terms of, and I personally, I wouldn't put it in terms of saying the old way of looking at things is wrong and the new way is right. I think that that is a way of framing the two that is a little more, that pits them in opposition in a way that I'm not sure is the way the Holy See would look at it, because the Holy See hasn't looked at it in those terms. Rather than saying this way was wrong and this way was right, the Holy See has expressed it in terms of this has been the developing understanding and of these matters. And so I tend not to want to get too far from the language that the Holy See itself has used. I'm thinking here of the letter that was issued along with the catechism change by Cardinal Luis Ladaria, who's the head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith in Rome. And in terms of, is there a preference for later understandings over earlier understandings, whether it's of this topic or any other topic? The answer is that although it's not an infallible rule, there can be ups and downs, and there can be misunderstandings and corrections and things like that over the course of church history. But there is a general trajectory, and I talk about this in my new book, Teaching with Authority, that's about to come out in less than 2 months now. There is a general trajectory in the development of doctrine where the Holy Spirit progressively leads the church into greater and greater understanding of the truth. And so, all things being equal, you would have a preference for later formulations that are more developed and more refined over earlier formulations that are less developed and less refined. So, for example, you would have a preference for the way the doctrine of the Trinity came to be expressed after the councils of the 4th century that formulated the language for the doctrine of the Trinity rigorously, compared to the way the fathers living before the 4th century articulated the doctrine of the Trinity. They had the same basic idea, but they didn't have all of the pieces in place necessarily, and they didn't have the clear and precise way of expressing it. And what's true on that teaching is true on many others, that as the Holy Spirit, in keeping with Jesus' promise from John 16:13, leads the church into all truth, as the Holy Spirit helps us refine our understanding of the revelation God gave us. It's a progressive process, and so the later formulations are going to be more precise and more developed than the earlier ones. And so there's a general preference for later, more developed formulations.
Okay, Matt?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I want to let you know that right now they got the back-to-school sale on at shop.com.